All right, let's get settled. Welcome to your very first day of Constitutional Law 101. I see a lot of you eyeing those massive textbooks on your desks, and hey, considering this is the longest written national constitution in the entire world, your anxiety is totally justified. But let's all take a deep breath. Today's explainer is really designed to completely demystify this foundational text. I want you to stop thinking of it as some daunting legal code and start seeing it as the fundamental operating system of an entire nation. We're going to break it all down, understanding its structure, its philosophical heart, and the nuts and bolts of how it distributes power. Okay, let's just dive right into it.
So, here's our syllabus for today. First, the constitutional blueprint. Second, decoding the preamble. And third, balancing the three pillars. Let's get right into part 1.
Section 1. The Constitutional Blueprint.
Think about it. When you're trying to organize an entire state and all its institutions, you're going to need a pretty comprehensive, massive rulebook. It has to tell the government exactly how to function, while simultaneously telling citizens what their rights are. But to really grasp the Constitution, you've got to understand that it's a living, breathing entity. Back in the day, we started with 395 articles, organized into 22 parts and 8 schedules. But you know, as a nation grows, its rulebook absolutely has to adapt. Through various amendments over the years, we're now looking at more than 450 articles, 25 parts, and 12 schedules. That evolution alone shows you how the law constantly shifts to meet the changing needs of the state.
So, what's actually packed into those 450-plus articles? Well, the Constitution literally leaves no stone unturned. It defines who even belongs to the nation through citizenship. It guarantees your fundamental rights, which, as future lawyers, you're going to spend your entire careers defending. It outlines the directive principles to guide lawmakers, builds the very structure of the union and state governments, sets up the judiciary, lays down the rules for elections, creates safety nets through emergency provisions, and it even includes the rules for how to change itself through amendment procedures. The big takeaway here? This blueprint comprehensively tackles both the political and social sides of running a country.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Section 2. Decoding the Preamble.
Before you get totally lost in the weeds of specific laws and all those articles, you really have to understand the preamble. This is the introductory statement, but please do not mistake it for just a polite greeting. It is the philosophical heartbeat of the whole text. It's the ultimate guiding framework we use to interpret every single law we'll study in this class. The preamble makes a bold declaration about India's identity using 5 specific terms. First up, sovereign. What does that actually mean in a constitutional context? It means absolute independence. No foreign parliament is passing laws for us. India is totally free from external control and holds the ultimate authority to make its own decisions.
Next is socialist. Now, I need you to put away whatever preconceptions you brought over from economics class. Strictly within the context of this Constitution, socialist means the state has a mandate to actively work toward reducing inequality. It's the legal backbone for things like minimum wage laws and social welfare schemes. It makes sure the government is fundamentally tasked with promoting the welfare of the people so wealth and opportunity aren't just hoarded at the top.
The third term is secular, and this one is absolutely crucial. Unlike the strict, rigid wall between church and state you might see in some Western countries, our constitutional framework handles it a bit differently. Here, secular means the state machinery is completely religiously neutral. It treats all religions with equal respect, there's no official state religion, no favoritism, and it ensures every single citizen is free to practice their own faith without any discrimination.
Fourth, we have democratic. This brilliantly illustrates where the power actually comes from. Democratic means the government's authority is entirely derived from you, the people. The people hold the cards, and they play them by electing the government that serves them. It is simple, it's direct, and it's incredibly powerful.
And finally, republic. You know, a democracy like the UK can still have a monarch as a figurehead, right? Well, a republic cannot. This term makes it crystal clear that the head of the state, the president, is an elected position. There's no hereditary monarch. Nobody just inherits the right to rule here. Every single position of power is open to the citizens and decided by the electoral process.
Okay, so those 5 words define the actual nature of the state. But what is the state actually trying to pull off? What's the goal? Well, the preamble clearly lays out 4 ultimate aims for all citizens: justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. And let me be clear, as first-year law students, you can't just memorize these buzzwords. You need to understand their exact scope within the legal framework. Let's break that scope down. When the preamble promises justice, we aren't just talking about courts and judges. It specifically means social, economic, and political justice. Liberty isn't just about not being locked in a cell. It explicitly guarantees your freedom of thought and expression. Equality is defined as ensuring equal status and equal opportunities for everyone, cutting right across all societal divides. And fraternity? That's about promoting unity and a true sense of brotherhood among all citizens, holding the whole nation together. These aren't just words. These are the active goals you'll spend your entire legal careers fighting to secure.
Which brings us to our final topic, Section 3, Balancing the Three Pillars.
Now that we know the structure and the philosophy, we have to look under the hood at the actual mechanics of power. Think about it. If a government has the power to secure justice and liberty, it absolutely has the power to become tyrannical, right? To stop that from happening, the Constitution meticulously chops up power into three distinct branches to create a system of checks and balances. First, you have the legislature, or parliament. Their job is making the laws. Second is the executive branch. Their job is implementing those laws. The president is the constitutional head, but the real day-to-day executive muscle is flexed by the prime minister and the council of ministers. And finally, the judiciary. Their role is interpreting the laws and ensuring justice is actually served.
I really want to zoom in on the judiciary for a second, because as future lawyers, this is your arena. The Supreme Court of India is the highest court in the land, but it doesn't just settle everyday disputes. It plays a vital role in the very survival of this whole constitutional framework. The Supreme Court actively protects the Constitution through a mechanism called judicial review. Basically, this means they have the ultimate power to examine and even strike down the actions of the legislature and the executive if they cross constitutional lines. It is, quite literally, the ultimate shield against tyranny.
Wow, okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground in today's explainer, from the sheer size of the document to the philosophy of the preamble, all the way down to the separation of powers. But I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder before our next class. How does a strict separation of powers actually prevent tyranny while still managing to adapt to complex modern challenges? As you pack up your bags, really think about how this delicate balancing act of making, implementing, and interpreting laws keeps the entire system from collapsing, even as society rapidly changes. All right, that's all for today. Class dismissed.